The Boy Nobody Believed In, based on a true story. Most people believe champions are born under bright stadium lights, but sometimes a champion is born on a quiet street where nobody is watching. The story you're about to hear isn't about luck. It isn't about talent alone. It's about a little American boy who refused to stop chasing a dream, even when almost everyone told him it was impossible. That boy would one day become one of America's greatest soccer stars. But before the crowds, before the trophies, before millions of fans knew his name, he was simply a kid with an old soccer ball. The year was 2004. In a quiet neighborhood in Pennsylvania, an 8-year-old boy spent every free minute with a soccer ball at his feet. Rain didn't stop him, snow didn't stop him, heat didn't stop him. While other children hurried home to play video games, he stayed outside until the streetlights came on. His neighbors laughed. "There goes the soccer kid again." Nobody imagined those tiny footsteps would one day echo across the biggest stadiums in Europe. His parents noticed something different. He wasn't just playing, he was studying the game. Every touch mattered. Every mistake became a lesson. If he lost the ball, he chased it harder. If he failed once, he tried 10 more times. That mindset would change his life forever. Soccer wasn't America's biggest sport. Most kids dreamed about the NFL. Others wanted to play basketball or baseball. People often asked him, "Why soccer?" His answer was always simple: "Because it makes me happy." He never played to become famous. He played because every time the ball touched his feet, he felt alive. His father had played soccer. His mother loved the game too. Instead of forcing him to train, they encouraged him to enjoy every moment. That made all the difference. Passion grows stronger when it comes from the heart, not pressure. As he grew older, something unusual happened. Coaches began whispering about the small boy who seemed to glide across the field. He wasn't the tallest, he wasn't the strongest, but he saw passes that other players couldn't see. He moved before everyone else reacted. It looked almost magical. One coach quietly told another, "That kid thinks 2 steps ahead." Still, being talented wasn't enough. Every weekend meant long drives across different states, hours inside the family car, early mornings, late nights, countless sacrifices. His parents spent thousands of dollars they didn't really have: hotels, gas, tournament fees, meals on the road. They never complained because they believed in their son, even when nobody else did. Then came the disappointment. At one important youth tournament, everything went wrong. He missed chances, made mistakes, his team lost. After the match, he sat alone, still wearing muddy cleats, holding back tears. For the first time, he wondered if everyone else had been right. Maybe he wasn't good enough. Maybe this dream belonged to someone else. His father walked over. He didn't criticize him. He didn't give a motivational speech. He simply sat beside him. After a long silence, he said, "One bad game doesn't decide your future." Those words stayed with him forever. The next morning, most kids would have taken a break. He didn't. He woke up before sunrise, picked up the same worn-out soccer ball, and started practicing again. No cameras, no applause, no audience, just determination. That was the moment his future truly began. Because champions aren't created when people are watching. They're created when nobody is. Months turned into years. His speed improved. His first touch became smoother. His confidence quietly grew.
But so did the challenges. The competition became tougher, the expectations became heavier. Some players were bigger, some were faster. Many believed the small American kid would never survive at the highest level. Little did they know, the biggest battles aren't won with size, they're won with courage. One afternoon, everything changed. A scout from Europe noticed him. Just one person, one pair of eyes, one opportunity. The kind of opportunity that only comes once in a lifetime. But accepting it would mean leaving everything behind. His friends, his school, his home, his country. At just 16 years old, he faced a decision that would change his life forever. Was he brave enough to chase a dream on the other side of the world?
At just 16 years old, he stood in an airport with a single suitcase. His mother hugged him a little longer than usual. His father tried to smile, but his eyes told a different story. For the first time in his life, he was leaving home, not for a vacation, not for a tournament, but to chase a dream that almost no American teenager had ever achieved. His destination was Germany, thousands of miles away from everyone he loved. As the airplane disappeared into the clouds, so did the comfortable life he had always known. When he arrived in Europe, reality hit him hard. Everything was different. The language, the food, the weather, even the style of soccer felt faster, stronger, smarter. Back home, he had been one of the best players on the field. Now, he was just another teenager trying to survive. No one cared about his past. Every training session felt like a test. Every mistake could cost him his place. The academy was filled with incredible young players. Many had dreamed of becoming professionals since they could walk. Some were taller, some were faster, some had already represented their countries. For the first time, he doubted himself. Late at night, alone in his room, he wondered, did I make the biggest mistake of my life? There were moments when he wanted to pack his bags and fly back to America. But every time he picked up his phone and looked at a picture of his family, he remembered why he had come. Not to be comfortable, to become better. Training became his entire world. Morning, afternoon, evening. While other teenagers explored the city or relaxed after practice, he stayed behind, working on his first touch, his passing, his finishing. He repeated the same drills hundreds of times because he had learned one important lesson as a child. Talent gets noticed, but discipline earns respect. The coaches began paying attention, not because he scored the most goals, not because he was the fastest player, but because he never stopped working. If training started at 9 o'clock, he arrived at 8 o'clock. If practice ended at 5 o'clock, he often stayed until sunset. One coach quietly told the staff, "You never have to ask this kid to give more." Still, football can be cruel. One week he played brilliantly. The next week he sat on the bench. Sometimes he wasn't even selected for the match. It hurt. Watching from the sidelines was harder than running for 90 minutes. But instead of complaining, he observed. He studied every movement, every pass, every mistake made by older players. He turned disappointment into education. Months passed. His confidence slowly returned. His teammates started trusting him. Older players noticed something unusual. Whenever the pressure increased, he became calmer. When everyone else panicked, he kept looking for the right pass. The little American kid was beginning to earn respect. Then, one unforgettable afternoon, the first team manager attended a youth training session. Everyone felt nervous. Every player wanted to impress him. Many tried spectacular skills. Others forced difficult shots. He chose a different approach. He simply played his game. Simple passes, smart movement, quick decisions. Sometimes the smartest player is the one who doesn't try to be the star.
After training, the manager spoke to one of the academy coaches. He pointed toward the young American. "Keep an eye on him." 4 simple words, but they changed everything. A few weeks later, his phone rang. He had been invited to train with the senior team. His heart nearly stopped. The players he had watched on television, the stars he admired, would now become his teammates. That night, sleep never came. He imagined every possible mistake. What if he lost the ball? What if he wasn't good enough? What if this opportunity disappeared forever? The next morning, he walked into the first team dressing room. The room fell silent for a moment. He looked around. International stars, champions, experienced professionals. And then one of them smiled. "Relax, kid." Those 2 words made him feel like he belonged. Training was faster than anything he had ever experienced. The ball moved at incredible speed. Every decision had to be made in seconds. He made mistakes, everyone does, but something impressed the coaches. He never hid after an error. He kept asking for the ball, again and again and again. That fearless attitude couldn't be taught. Days later, the manager made his decision. The young American would stay with the first team. A dream that had seemed impossible only a few years earlier was becoming reality. But the hardest chapter hadn't even begun, because earning a place is one thing. Keeping it is another challenge entirely. And soon, the entire football world would learn his name.
The news spread quickly. A young American had been promoted to the first team. Most people outside the club barely noticed, but inside the locker room, everyone knew what it meant. The easy part was over. Now came the real test. Could a teenager compete against some of the best in Europe? On match day, he sat quietly on the bench. The stadium was alive. More than 80,000 fans filled every seat. The chants echoed through the air. The lights were brighter than anything he had ever seen. As a child, he had imagined this moment 1,000 times. Now it was real. But dreams can feel terrifying when they finally come true. The game wasn't going well. His team struggled to create chances. The clock kept ticking. Then, the manager turned toward the bench. He called one name, the young American. For a second, everything around him went silent. He stood up, pulled on his jersey, took one deep breath, and ran onto the field. His legs felt heavy. His heartbeat raced. The defenders looked bigger, faster, stronger. The first time he touched the ball, thousands of eyes followed him. He made a simple pass, nothing spectacular, but something changed. The fear disappeared. He remembered the empty streets in Pennsylvania, the countless mornings spent practicing alone. This was still the same game, just a bigger stage. Minute by minute, his confidence grew. He dribbled past one defender, then another. The crowd rose to its feet. Suddenly, people who had never heard his name were cheering for him, not because of where he came from, but because of what they had just witnessed. Talent, courage, confidence. After the final whistle, the headlines began to appear. Who is this young American? A new star is emerging, the fearless teenager changing expectations. For the first time, the soccer world was paying attention. Back home in the United States, children started searching for his name. Many had never believed an American player could shine in Europe. Now, they finally had someone to look up to. But pressure brings success. Every great performance raised expectations. Every poor performance invited criticism. Social media exploded. Some fans praised him. Others claimed he was overrated. One difficult game, and people questioned whether he belonged. It hurt. Even the strongest athletes hear those voices. The challenge isn't avoiding criticism. It's refusing to believe it. His family reminded him of something important. Never let praise change you. Never let criticism break you. Those words became his foundation. Instead of reading every headline, he focused on training. Instead of arguing with critics, He answered them on the field. Weeks turned into months. He scored his first professional goal. The stadium erupted. His teammates surrounded him. For just a moment, he closed his eyes. He wasn't thinking about the fans. He wasn't thinking about the cameras. He remembered the little boy with the old soccer ball, the one nobody believed in. The dream hadn't changed. Only the stadium had. Then came another milestone. He received the call every young player dreams of. He had been selected to represent the United States. Wearing the national team jersey felt different. This wasn't just about him anymore. He carried the hopes of millions of American soccer fans. Children watched him and believed, if he can do it, maybe I can too. The pressure was enormous. Every international match felt like a final. The expectations grew with every tournament. Some games ended in celebration, others ended in heartbreak. But win or lose, he always walked off the field with his head held high, because effort was something nobody could take away. Years earlier, people had laughed at the boy practicing alone in the street. Now those same kinds of stories inspired young players across America. Soccer was growing. More children believed they could reach Europe. More families dared to dream. One player's journey had become a symbol of possibility. But life has a way of testing even the strongest hearts. Just when everything seemed perfect, disaster struck. During an important match, he chased a loose ball at full speed. A defender challenged, his foot planted awkwardly. Then, a sharp pain shot through his leg. He collapsed onto the grass. The stadium fell silent. He grabbed his ankle. He knew something was wrong. The medical staff rushed onto the field. His teammates looked worried. As he was helped off the pitch, the applause from thousands of fans echoed around the stadium. But inside, he had only one terrifying question. What if this is the injury that ends everything?
The stadium was silent. Thousands of fans watched as the young American was helped off the field. Just minutes earlier, they had been chanting his name. Now, no one knew how serious the injury was. Inside the locker room, the doctors examined his ankle. The pain was intense. He tried to stay calm, but deep inside, fear had taken over. Not the fear of losing one game, the fear of losing everything he had spent his entire life working for. A few days later, the test results arrived. He would be out for weeks, possibly months. For an athlete, those words can feel devastating. While his teammates continued training, he found himself alone in the rehabilitation room. No cheering fans, no cameras, no match-day excitement. Just exercises, pain, and patience. Recovery was harder than any match he had ever played. Every small movement hurt. Some days he could barely jog. Other days he questioned whether he would ever return to his best. The hardest battles weren't on the field anymore. They were inside his own mind. Negative thoughts whispered, "Maybe you'll never be the same. Maybe someone else will take your place. Maybe your best days are already behind you." But then, he remembered something his father had told him years earlier after that youth tournament. One bad game doesn't decide your future. Now, he changed those words for himself. One injury doesn't decide your future either. Every morning, before sunrise, he showed up for rehab. Every afternoon, he worked on strength. Every evening, he watched game footage, studying movements and tactics. Even when he couldn't play, he refused to stop improving. That's what separated champions from everyone else. Champions keep growing, even when no one can see it. Finally, the day arrived. His name appeared in the squad list again. The locker room felt familiar. The smell of fresh grass, the sound of boots hitting the floor, the nervous excitement before kickoff. It felt like coming home. When the coach looked at him and smiled, he knew he was ready. The fans welcomed him with thunderous applause. Some held American flags, others wore his jersey. Many had followed his journey from the beginning, from the unknown teenager to one of the brightest stars in American soccer. As he stepped onto the field, he wasn't thinking about proving critics wrong. He was simply grateful to play the game he loved again. Not long afterward, he scored. The stadium exploded with joy. His teammates rushed toward him. He pointed to the sky. Then he smiled. Not because he had scored, but because he remembered every difficult day that had led to that moment. The lonely practices, the long drives, the sacrifices, the homesickness, the failures, the injury. Every painful chapter had become part of his success. Over the years, he continued to play at the highest level. He inspired a new generation of American soccer players. Children who once believed Europe was impossible now believed anything was possible. His journey proved that greatness isn't determined by where you're born. It's determined by how hard you're willing to work. Today, millions know his name. They see the goals, the trophies, the celebrations, but very few see the invisible story behind them. The mornings nobody watched, the tears nobody noticed, the failures nobody remembers. That's the part that truly creates a champion. If there's one lesson his story teaches us, it's this: you don't need everyone to believe in you. You only need the courage to keep believing in yourself. Dreams don't come true overnight. They are built one practice, one sacrifice, one difficult decision at a time. The little boy with the old soccer ball didn't become a hero because life was easy. He became a hero because he refused to quit. And maybe, just maybe, the next incredible story is yours. The end.